Hello, and welcome to Ethereal. Juan, Benet and Sergey Nazarov, two of the greats in the blockchain industry. We're going to give you all a round of virtual applause, or at least I am, because I think you deserve one. But there may well be people out there who still don't know who you are. So can we right that wrong and just give a quick intro, and what do you do? Sergey, let's start with you.
Sure. So I'm one of the co-founders of something called Chainlink. Chainlink is a set of decentralized Oracle networks that basically connect smart contracts to external systems, external data sources, external computing capabilities, external storage outside of a blockchain. And so we basically give smart contracts all the various inputs they need to basically make more advanced use cases like DeFi or decentralized insurance, or more advanced fraud-proof gaming. So we enable more advanced, what we call hybrid smart contracts through these decentralized Oracle networks, which essentially make decentralized services that make smart contracts more advanced, basically.
Really cool. And I want to hear from you, Juan. What is it about decentralized storage and Filecoin? Can you explain to us in a nutshell?
Yes, Filecoin is a decentralized storage market that brings cryptocurrency as a medium of exchange to a network of service providers that can offer cloud storage to anybody who requests it. And it uses crypto incentives to summon a very large network of the storage providers to really catch up and beat the decentralized cloud systems.
Cool. And you launched pretty recently, didn't you? It wasn't all that long ago. So, after years and years and years of development. So how has that been? I mean, how
it's been huge. So we launched last year, and it was a huge launch, and the network just got off to the races, and it's been growing incredibly fast. We've now just passed, I think, 5 exabytes of capacity on the network, which is just a staggering amount of scale. We are actually growing much faster than we expected. It's really, really great.
Can you give us a kind of example? I mean, what does that constitute?
Yeah, so this is 1 exabyte is 1,000 petabytes, which is 1,000 terabytes, which is 1,000 gigabytes. We have some good comparisons. It's like a staggering amount of scale. Think of say all of the Internet Archive is about 25 petabytes or something like that. No, actually, I think there's 50 or so. So you imagine fitting many times over. Yeah.
Okay.
So all of Web3 could fit in a few petabytes in terms of the application storage and so on. So this is now at a scale where we can go after all the kind of main use cases of cloud storage on the internet. Things like the Web2 has been very successful with. So things like video and large storage for applications like personal files or company files and so on, or really massive data sets. There's huge industrial data sets that should be public and decentralized.
And are all now on the system, on the interplanetary file system, right? Or on file. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So and Sergey, you've published recently an amazing white paper, which I had the privilege of writing about. And I didn't read all of it, I have to say, but I mean, it's some groundbreaking stuff in there. So tell us what the most recent developments are for Chainlink.
Yeah, sure. So I think what the white paper talks about is the creation of a new architecture for how to make more advanced smart contracts called hybrid smart contracts. And these are smart contracts that go beyond the functionality of a blockchain, right? So the functionality found within a blockchain is tokenization, private key signing, DAO voting, and some amount of scripting of contract conditions around taking in value, releasing value, that type of thing. And that's great, and that's necessary, and that's a very important foundation on which our industry is built, and that a lot of things kind of circle around and connect to and try to make more useful. But hybrid smart contracts are kind of an evolution of that thinking, where you still have the smart contract code on chain, ingesting value and providing clear, transparent state about the contract and returning value through interest payments or settlement of derivatives or whatever. But the more advanced smart contracts actually require other systems, right? So they need decentralized storage, like what Juan and Filecoin have been. They need external data sources. They need other systems. in order to be connected to that core on-chain code. And it is the connection to that on-chain code that really makes more advanced use cases. And DeFi is an example of this. DeFi is actually a hybrid smart contract. Decentralized insurance is a hybrid smart contract. Approved gaming lotteries that have reliable off-chain random number generators, that's a hybrid smart contract, right? So the Chainlink 2.0 white paper lays out a path for creating hybrid smart contracts with the help of these decentralized oracle networks, or as they're called in the paper, DONs. And decentralized oracle networks are essentially these committees of nodes or ensembles of nodes that have a single distinct goal and task. And that is the creation of a single distinct service, a single decentralized service. So right now, we have hundreds of these decentralized oracle networks that, for the most part, provide market data. Some of them provide weather data and sports data and others, but most of it's market data for DeFi, of which we power the majority. At the end of the day, I think what we talk about in the white paper is how do we get from hundreds of decentralized services to thousands of decentralized services, and how does that kind of create an ecosystem of data and of external connectivity and of access to centralized storage and basically access to a decentralized stack that allows more and more and more advanced hybrid smart contracts, which I personally believe will and already are on the way to reinventing what our industry is about. So that's really what the 2.0 white paper covers. It outlines that architecture, how decentralized services from Oracle networks enable that, and how the evolution of that can happen at scale in a secure way.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. Sorry, Juan, you're going to say something.
Yeah, one of the really exciting things about Chainlink 2.0 and DONs and things like combining with things like Filecoin is that we're now reaching just a much larger scale of application that's going to be possible. And this year and next year, we're seeing many new kinds of things being built that are just at a much larger scale than we've seen before in the Web3 ecosystem. And as with each new kind of order of magnitude of scale that we reach, we open up a whole new range of industries that are able to kind of now take advantage of all of the Web3 capabilities. And so progressively, as we work on scaling these systems, more and more of the day-to-day applications that people use and the day-to-day services that people use will start being Web3 and crypto powered.
I can't wait until that happens, but I suspect it might take a few more years. But you guys, I mean, the title of this talk is Chainlink meets Filecoin, Filecoin meets Chainlink. But that's not really true, is it? I mean, it's not the first time you guys have met. You've both been in the industry since 2014, at least. You both actually started your companies in the same year. And I've heard that you've been talking a lot together recently. So what have you been cooking up? What's happening between Chainlink and Filecoin and decentralized storage and decentralized oracles?
Well, one of the really exciting things that's happening, well, by the way, first of all, from the beginning, kind of Chainlink and IPFS have been used together in a ton of really exciting ways. It's been really great to see just over the past few years, the range of things that have become possible with combining these two projects. And so it's been really great to be able to power all these applications. And now with kind of the next generation of things that we're deploying, now a whole range of new applications is becoming possible. We recently had a hackathon in the Chainlink hackathon. There's a whole track of things using IPFS and Filecoin and so on. There were a lot of really exciting applications and hacks being built there.
Which is your favorite? I mean, just give us an example.
It's hard to pick favorites, but some examples include like certificates for learning systems, NFT-based art and games, so combination of kind of public information and bringing that into smart contracts, so leveraging kind of the Chainlink Oracle structure with kind of the large storage side of Filecoin. Things like figuring out art provenance to prevent theft with NFTs, insurance contracts for Filecoin miners and things of that nature, proofs of ownership of kind of goods in the physical world. So think of NFTs that track physical goods and so on. So all kinds of really, really exciting stuff. There's a whole bunch of really cool hacks in the hackathon, and a bunch of folks, kind of one really cool prize is to kind of build out their hacks into full-fledged applications. So really excited to see where those head and what they turn into over this year.
Yeah, most definitely. And Sergey, I mean, this is all being enabled by decentralized Oracle networks, right? Some of these projects. I mean, is that what you guys have been talking about mainly?
Yeah, I mean, it's an equal kind of combination of both of these key resources, just like web developers combine, key resources to build more advanced applications. In terms of Juan and Filecoin, yeah, I mean, we've known each other for some time, and I've always had, the highest respect for Juan and his team and the way that they've approached, building what they're building. The thing that actually was very exciting for me was the initial Filecoin white paper, because it was one of those things that went beyond blockchains as a transactional mechanism, right? So back when that came out and it was posted, I think when they got into Y Combinator on the initial single Filecoin site, the one-page site with without any other sections, that when guys got into YC, I think it was one of those things that kind of even gave me a lot of hope that there's a lot more that can be done with decentralized infrastructure than payment transactions, right? And so I'm always very impressed by people like Juan and his team who go, beyond what is possible with just a blockchain and go to create a new part of the decentralized stack, which is to a certain degree what we've also done in this oracles or decentralized services category. And what we've been discussing recently is how those things get combined. And as Juan mentioned, we had a very successful hackathon together where there were well over 10 or well over 15 great projects that really combine things in very useful ways, in the ways that you really see web developers quickly combine advanced different building blocks, advanced different services, right? In this case, it was a decentralized storage capability and the trust minimized off-chain compute capability combined with a smart contract on a chain like Ethereum, right? And so you're starting to see a kind of a chain for some level of persistence, but really as a transactional mechanism. And then you're seeing Oracle networks as a services layer to provide certain services to that contract. And then you're seeing decentralized storage from what I can see a lot of the times for long-term persistence, right? Because long-term persistence isn't as scalable on chains. People don't want it on chains. The people who make the chains don't want it on chains. And as chains get used more and more for various transactions, like even today on CoinDesk, there was an article about a World Economic Forum report that came out saying that even just on the capital market side, it's $867 worth of value that can be moved into the blockchain format, right? That's a lot of value. That's a lot of computation. That's a lot of data, right? And all of that computation doesn't necessarily have to happen in a blockchain. It can happen in decentralized services, and all of the data connected to all of that value doesn't have to live persistently on a blockchain. A lot of it, people don't want on a blockchain because that'll, increase the size of the chain, even if you have separate sub chains of some kind, whatever, naming they have. And so what I think you're seeing is really the evolution of this decentralized stack into a configurable, easy to build with thing. The things that I found that were interesting, and the kind of three of the paths that I see that I think have real promise are both Oracle networks putting data into decentralized storage and Filecoin to create, cost-efficient persistence for that data once the decentralized service isn't performing its operations. It's performed its operations, the contract has settled. You'd say you need some kind of long-term cost-efficient persistence for the data that's still decentralized. Beyond that, we've also been looking at creating oracles and Oracle networks that create insurance for Filecoin miners. So ensuring that Filecoin miners guarantee, their role in the system and creating insurance around that because the decentralized Oracle network can verify certain performance from them. And then the final thing that I think is also very exciting is the ability to actually access data within the Filecoin network through DAOs, right? So you're able to kind of make a decentralized Oracle network. It can get data from APIs. It can get data from a few different APIs, but maybe some of that data is actually on the Filecoin network, and it can go get that data and compute it alongside the API, retrieve data and generate an important and valuable input for all those smart contracts that are coming around that 867 trillion in value, right? So these are the three kind of general paths that I see, but I'm sure there's a lot beyond that I don't see, like some of the key use cases that Juan mentioned. And really, it's fascinating to think about, like, who could have imagined that people would build Uber, or people would build, all these web applications once they were able to connect all the building blocks. But once they can't connect the building blocks, people build things, that genuinely change our daily lives. And I think that's what, that's what me and Juan and a few other people in our industry have been working towards for a long time.
Yeah, one of the really exciting things of this is when you're able to combine the power of oracles and things like Filecoin's proofs of storage, you can then create verifiable traces of actually backing up really critical information, right? So on some of the data sets that Sergey is mentioning, think of massive, important political data sets. So things that governments have to keep track of, or that things that are important as a digital commons kind of society, putting those important data sets that should be decentralized, should be accessible by a society, by anybody, and now creating kind of tamper-proof traces of that storage being kept verifiably available to everybody, being able to be served properly, and so on. And once you have those that information in oracles, then you can start running all kinds of applications around that. One of the things that I'm really excited about is data DAOs. So things where you can kind of create decentralized organizations that can manage collections of important data, curate that collection. So being able to kind of add or remove important data that should be kept by that group, and then over time kind of manage the curation of decentralized digital commons in the long term. So tons of information right now is just back, put on a few services who then choose to shut down a service and kind of kick everyone out. And ideally, all of that shouldn't happen anymore, right? All of this really valuable, important information just should be able to kind of verifiably stick around in the long term.
I love the idea of data DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations, ruled, I don't know, by a computer, and presumably sort of, fractionalizing the profits of the data. Absolutely amazing. But I just want to, for the last few minutes, broaden the discussion out a little bit to the general industry, which includes DAOs and DeFi and NFTs and everything, because I'd like to get your perspective, because you've both been involved for 6-7 years. You probably have a better worldview than many of us who have been in this industry for a lot less. How have things changed since 2014? I mean, how has the evolution been in the last 6-7 years, and what does that show us about where things are going?
It's been this amazing growth over the past few years, and even a decade going back to the beginnings of Bitcoin and so on. It's just been truly amazing to see the impact worldwide of these important networks coming online. I think that the most important thing, like always, is having really amazing teams of people who are building this technology for the long term, who are building the right structures, the right incentives, the right designs, and communities that use those technologies to build applications and then kind of build the next generation of things. And this is something that we've been super impressed always with the amazing team that at Chainlink and Sergey and everybody there, and the communities have been really great to participate with. It's been, I think, over the last few years, we've seen just the explosion of applications and use cases comes from all of these teams of people who kind of have gone down the rabbit hole of crypto, and every year put out amazingly creative new constructions, and then those get recomposed the next year, and so on and so on. So it's one of these fields where you sort of feel like you've seen what Web3 is about, or you've seen what crypto is about, and every year you get surprised by some important new contribution that just dramatically makes things easier or faster or better in some way. And then that gets recomposed with everything else to kind of create the next generation of things. So it's been just like this wild ride of the amazing creativity and build out for quite a while. The thing that I think we are not doing super well yet is kind of reaching most of the people on the planet, right? So the Web3 crypto world has grown slower than, say, the social networks world or mobile. And so, there's probably on the order of a few 100 million people that have engaged with Web3 and crypto so far. And we got to get that to billions. And that's sort of the next important challenge. And I really think the key problem and the key hurdle there is scalability. So things that enable broader scalability of services and applications, things like DAOs, things like Filecoin, are going to help us reach those milestones. And I really look forward to a point where most of the applications that I use on a day-to-day basis are backed up, are backed by decentralized services that I can trust because they're verifiable.
Yeah, me too, definitely. Sergey, you started in 2014 with smart contracts, and still it's smart contracts. And smart contracts have evolved. How has that changed? It's almost like you and also Vitalik and others who have worked in this industry. You're working on one track, and how do you think that's going to progress? Is that going to mean that more people are going to adopt blockchain technologies because smart contracts can do pretty amazing things, right?
Yeah, I think the thing that I've seen is that the speed at which infrastructure innovations happen is increasing. And I've definitely seen that if you give people an ability to build something by connecting together various systems without having to build the infrastructure themselves, they'll begin to build things. Right. So I think Ethereum is probably one of the best examples of this. They did an amazing job taking the industry from let's make a protocol and let's put my smart contract into the protocol to let's make a protocol that can just have a generalizable scripting language where people can script up applications. Right. And that's what people did. And that universe of what people could script up between tokens and DAOs and other things is not the biggest universe, but it is a very good starting point. Right. And because of Ethereum, there was a token boom, really, because people could script up all of these things and they could kind of create a ERC20 standard and they could make all these conditions and they could do all of that stuff, right? So I think what's happening now is just like Ethereum gave us the initial token boom and has now been polished into a better and better platform for that in addition to other things. I think there's now other pieces of infrastructure like Chainlink, like Filecoin, that are coming into a new level of usability, into a new level of composability with other systems like Ethereum and other chains, right? And I think the composability of all these different kind of services and storage capabilities and on-chain capabilities is what DeFi is, right? So I think what we're already seeing is that people are composing these capabilities into more and more advanced DeFi applications, some decentralized insurance, some fraud-proof gaming. And I think the historical context for this is that when you get the infrastructure to a certain tipping point, and there's actually economic value in the applications that people build, there's kind of a mad dash, there's a rush of people building applications, right? The analogy with the internet is that it got to a certain tipping point in terms of infrastructure, and people realized they could make internet web applications that could reach people, right? Because people had personal computers in their home and they had, a DSL connection or a modem connection or whatever connection they had. And so I think it's not easy to say, like, where is that threshold, right? Where is the threshold when everybody has crypto access to their phone because there's a secure element in their phone, plus there's enough good applications, plus the infrastructure is scalable enough, plus you have all the Oracle networks that you could want to make a good service, and plus you have all the decentralized storage capabilities you want. But at a certain point, that kind of threshold gets passed, right? And I think we're going towards that faster and faster, right? So the rate of improvement of infrastructure is happening faster and faster. The infrastructure is multifaceted in that it's not just a better chain and a better chain and a better chain, right? It's better chains and it's better Oracle networks, and it's better storage, and it's better all of these parameters. And so, you know, at a certain point, they're all going to reach a point where they've gotten so much better that building a decentralized application is pretty much as easy as building a web application, but it's a much better idea, right? It's more secure. More people want it than want web applications. There's just an overwhelming amount of reasons to build decentralized applications rather than web applications. When we pass that tipping point is hard to say, but I think the acceleration towards it has definitely increased.
So we're running out of time. In fact, we've only got just over a minute. So in around 30 seconds, I'd like both of you to perhaps give us something that you think might happen this year that is super exciting, that is going to bring this ecosystem on even further. I mean, we've had brilliant things happen in the last year. We've had, you know, Elon Musk get involved. We've had PayPal get involved. We've had, you know, DeFi reach 100 billion. So, you know, what might happen this year? Sergey, let's start with you.
I personally think that DeFi is going to have another zero next to it. So if DeFi is at 70 billion or 100 billion, I think there's going to be another zero next to that. And when there's another zero next to that, and if DeFi breaks $1 trillion in total value locked, then ignoring it will be quite simply impossible. And once that becomes impossible, everybody will begin making a plan, and everybody will begin figuring out how do I get ahead of this? How do I become part of this? This isn't going away. You know, nothing that houses $1 trillion value is going to be going away. So personally, I think that we're going to have another zero next to the value locked in DeFi.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Yeah, I would add to that I'm really excited to see DeFi combined with cloud storage. So we've been thinking a lot about how you know, storage deals really are part. There's a market with bids and asks, and all of the deals and structure for figuring out the storage or figuring out specific pieces of data or the hardware involved in the storage and so on. There's this explosion that's going to happen when DeFi and storage meet, and that's about kind of a year away. It would be remiss to not mention NFTs here. So I think there's been a massive explosion of digital painting, basically, so 2D and 3D NFT art. And that's kind of like what the form factor of NFTs right now has been able to support really well. But now with more storage and with DAOs and so on, I expect video NFTs to be a huge thing this year. Entire 3D worlds, full games, kind of dynamic NFTs or participatory NFTs. So I also can't wait for the first generation of mainstream games whose items are NFTs and whose economies are blockchain powered. All of that is getting built out right now, and it'll be either this year or next year when it really starts exploding.
Wow, a lot to look forward to. Guys, thank you very much. You've been super informative, and I look forward to speaking to you very soon again. All right, thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.